This was a big Hollywood situation. No amount of money can possibly make this family whole. It's just a loss that you can't compensate for. We're talking about the Alec Baldwin case. So this case, was a tragedy. So we definitely want to start by saying rest in peace to Helena Hutchins, just going to work, shooting a film that's supposed to be a very, pleasant and happy moment in your life. And she ends up losing her life on the set doing, what she loves. And so we definitely want to say rest in peace to her, thoughts and prayers to her friends and family and loved ones. But the case recently got dismissed. Either it's already been dismissed or it's about to be dismissed. So the news was already put out that the case is going to be dismissed against Alec Baldwin. And me personally, I believe that he should not have been charged in the first place, right? So if you remember, this incident had taken place on the movie set for Rust, right? And Alec Baldwin was not only an actor in the film, but he was also a producer, which, ended up heightening his responsibility on that set, right? And so he has a gun in his hand, and in between takes, they're preparing for the next take, I guess. The gun goes off and a bullet ends up striking Miss Hutchins. She succumbs to her wounds, and then another individual was also hurt on that set, right? Alec Baldwin came out very early on and gave a statement, right? So he gave a sit-down interview, and the big takeaway from this interview was that I did not pull this trigger.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No.
And for me, I do not like at all. I don't like people going and giving interviews to police. And when it comes to celebrities who have a platform, whether it's going on IG Live or, booking an interview on ABC where they're sitting down with somebody and being able to say their side of the story. I don't like that. I get it. I understand from a PR standpoint, from a public relations standpoint, you want to get your narrative out there, right? Because there's going to be huge pushback, and there was huge pushback as a defense attorney, right? Because a lot of times as the professional, our position is going to be different from what the client's position is emotionally, right? At the end of the day, our loyalty as attorneys is to our clients, but we have to do what is best for our clients, right? And that's not always what they want to do. At the end of the day, you are the client and you get to take your defense where you want it to go, but as the professional in the situation, I'm going to tell you what's best for you and what's not good for you. There is a constitutional right to remain silent for a reason. When you're giving an interview, whether that's during a police interrogation or on TV, you can slip up. You might be mistaken. You might have misspoken, and your words could be possibly misinterpreted. And now you're locked in to a particular statement because it's recorded. This was a big Hollywood situation. Baldwin comes out and basically makes this statement and says, hey, I never pulled the trigger. And so that left a lot of people like, come on, man. Like, how is it that this gun went off, you ended up shooting this woman if you never pulled the trigger? And again, he was very adamant about that and confident in his position that he never pulled the trigger. And so what made that situation a bit worse is that the FBI then comes out and says, well, we did our analysis, we did our investigation, and here's our report that says that this gun could not have gone off without him having pulled the trigger. Now he just looks like, a liar. For me though, even though that was a situation, like I just wasn't going to take the FBI's word for it. And so, my thoughts was like, hey, listen, Baldwin's legal team, they just better have a solid legal expert who can refute this information, right? To be able to say, no, we went through this information as well, and there is a way, right? I don't know how they'd explain it, but there is a way that this gun can go off absent him pulling the trigger. As a defense attorney, you're obviously hoping that you can find an expert who's going to, and not lie, but an expert who's going to be able to tell you that, yes, your client's position makes sense and this is why, right? At the end of the day, the information that ended up coming out, because there was some information that was ultimately released that said that, hey, this gun had been modified. I don't know if the FBI had this information when they had done their analysis, but what the defense presented was that, hey, this gun is not the same, stock gun as when purchased originally, right? So it had been modified. It was a Colt 45 that had been modified using new parts. So therefore, if you have a modification, then, and I don't know how this could be done, but somehow they were able to say that with these modifications, perhaps the gun could have gone off short of Baldwin pulling the trigger. And I think that the DA, in reviewing the case, probably would have ended up thinking like, okay, well, maybe we can't prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt. So maybe we need to do something different. If Baldwin is out now, there's still Hannah Gutierrez Reed. She was the armorer for the movie. She was responsible for the firearms on the set. And so I did a little bit of research and realized like armorers have a great deal of responsibility. You actually have to do certain certifications. So you have to be certified in order to be an armorer. You can't just, come off the streets and apply for the armorer job and get it. Like, nah, you have to have certain certifications because, as you can see right now, when an armorer does not do their job properly, people can die. And unfortunately, in this situation, someone did. So they're the ones, they check the weapons between takes. According to experts, I was kind of looking at some information and they said that you would never, ever have live rounds on a movie set. Yet somehow there was live rounds on this movie set, right? And additional news or information that I didn't have is that, Miss Gutierrez Reed apparently had admitted that she had put the live round in the gun. And I didn't see, any further elaboration on that, but that was an admission that she made. There should never be a live round on a movie set. And this kind of goes back to Baldwin saying, okay, well, he never pulled the trigger, right? Really, I mean, this is where I don't see criminal liability for somebody at the end, because there just really should have never been any live rounds in that gun in the first place. There was a wrongful death lawsuit that was filed. So on behalf of the family of Helena Hutchins. So when a person loses their life and, especially when you're dealing with like a work situation, the family can file wrongful death lawsuit. And so then there's, pain and suffering and all of the wages that person could have earned over their lifetime, because the children, they have a right to be able to receive the benefit of what their mother or their father would have made throughout the course of their life. And so, there was this wrongful death suit filed very early on. Obviously, no amount of money whatsoever will bring back Ms. Hutchins. No amount of money will, can possibly make this family whole. It's just a loss that you can't compensate for. But in our legal system, that's the only way that we have to somehow try and make someone whole. But at the end of the day, if the family is given a settlement, and that's probably going to be undisclosed, we'll never know what the amount is going to be. But if they're given a settlement, then I just think that that's going to be so much more meaningful to the family than it would have been to prosecute Alec Baldwin. This is just a tragic situation that ended wrong, ended badly. It's terrible that this happened, but I'm glad that it's going down this way, that he's, being let out of this prosecution, because I just really feel like he shouldn't have been charged in the first place.